Olympics won 6 medals. The gold, the only gold, was for Farial Ashraf, 1 silver for Ahmed Al-Gindi. Also 4 bronze medals given to Gianna Farouk, Hidayah Malak, Saif Isa and Mohammed Kishu Sayed. Before we start talking about these champions, out of your decades-long experience in the field of sports, locally and internationally, how would you rate the Egyptian performance in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics as opposed to previous editions of the Olympics?
Well, it's a good question because we already do that every Olympics. And before the Olympics, the people eager and really enthusiastic to try to have more medals and so on and so forth. The matter of fact, and in reality, this is the best results ever for the Olympics for any participation in the Olympic Games. It's a good proud to have 6 medals, never before. 4 of them, as you kindly mentioned, are bronze, and 1 silver and 1 gold. Not only that, and I'm not considering that we are only counting the medals, but we have to count also the other positions has been recorded by the athletes and the teams. For instance, for the first time for the fencing to place the 5th in a team of saber, and also in foil fencing, they placed the 6th, and they placed also the 5th in the Ipe fencing. So it's not only 1 post, but 3 posts, and you can say with the taste of a medal. Also, we don't forget, of course, the handball.
Yes.
The handball was even a winner. They really explore all the excitements, and they were really very excited, and they make us very excited with their great performance, and whatever they have done in these games, they really make us all feel proud.
Yes.
Because every match was almost for them winning the medal. To meet with the world champions and with the Olympic champions, and it's very natural because this is the elite of the elite of all the sports,
Yes.
whether individual or teams. So it is really natural to meet with the best people in the world. So you say, we lost against the world champion. Of course, who do you meet else? Because now you are in the best 4 in the world. So you have to be proud of that. So I really congratulate them. And I really feel proud of them and all the handball because they have made us all proud and happy for their great performance. Also, we're talking about the diving. Diving was the first time ever since 1960 for the finalists to be there. So it was wonderful that we achieved that, and we could be able even to finish the 11th. We're talking about table tennis. Omar Asar. Omar Asar finished 5th, which is almost a medal. So if you talk, the people sometimes doesn't like, it's like the taste of medal, but it is truth. I mean, you have almost, I think, 11 or 12 positions were going to be medals. But unfortunately, they couldn't be able to finalize it at this stage. Whether it's not their day, whether it was they were not in a good psychological state by that time, even that they are start to think about, we are going to win, we are going to have the medal, and so on and so forth. So this kind of psychological instability, maybe it caused them. You say, well, where is the trainer? Of course, the trainer is talking to them. Of course, the psychiatrist is talking to them. Of course, everybody is trying to give them the hope. But in this case, maybe you're not focusing enough. Maybe you don't have the great experience because you know that there is a lot of young youth were participating in the Olympics, which is one of the goals was of Egypt, that they give the chance to the people qualified to be able to participate in such a big event, which is the biggest event in the world, the Olympics, and the dream of everybody. So, I mean, I was really amazed of these great results of the people has been done. Is there some mistakes of some of the people? Of course there is. I mean, if you have 163 participants and you say this is a big delegation, yes, of course it is a big delegation. So why are we obliged to participate? Yes, for the French inventor of the games, Parent-Pierre de Coubertin, when he said that the participation of the game is the winning. And then if you are an Olympian, they never say you're a past Olympian. You're an Olympian and you live Olympian all your life. So this is a great honor, number one. Number two, what do you want to convince me of, for instance, for triathlon, which is swimming, biking, running, which I'm honored to be the president of the Egyptian and the Arab and African and member of the International Federation. I was very proud of Basmala Salamoni, is one of our youngest athletes participated in such a game. And first time, of course, she participated with her trainer, Ahmed Salama. She did a great performance, but unfortunately, she doesn't have the experience. So at the end of the day, she didn't finish as she should finish. But we are proud because she was qualified among 36 countries representing Egypt out of 172 countries were participating and competing to qualify for the games. So if you are in the 36 qualifying countries out of 172, you should be proud of that.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, since I'm the president of Africa, I'm saying that only 3 countries from Africa out of 54 countries. Among them is Egypt. So shouldn't you be proud of that? Of course you should be proud of that.
Yes.
So it is, I mean, some of these things supposed to be studied. And of course, we were sitting with our people and seeing what was the weak points and the strong points. If there is any strong points, or if there is, of course, there is some weak points, but we have to calculate in that and make our strategic plan for the next Olympic Games, which is already, we lost 1 year out of it.
Yes.
If, for God's sake, we're going to have the Olympics in 2024 in Paris, hopefully that there is not going to be a pandemic anymore.
Hopefully so. Well, Mr. Nasser, now the president really recognizing the heroics of those Egyptian champions. Now, we're used to football being the #1 sports in Egypt, not just Egypt, all over the world, but such a recognition by the president. How much, what sort of an effect do you think it will have on the Egyptian society as a whole and the federations as well, sponsoring all these individual sports? I mean, yourself being the president of the African Association, now, what sort of motivation or pressure or encouragement do you think such a recognition by the president will have on all the federations and the Egyptian society as a whole?
Well, let me tell you at the beginning, before I come to our president, what is he doing with our people and what is the great award that he really presented to them today. It's not only them, but for all the sport of Egypt. The matter of fact, psychological psychological state is playing a very good part in the sport, definitely. If you're not in a good condition psychologically, you can't compete in a proper way, number one. Number two, encouragement. When you're down, you need somebody to raise your morale,
Yes.
to raise your sense, to raise your encouragement, to make you more stronger. Nothing better than your leader. So the president not only now is awarding the people, he awarded the sport before we travel, before all the people travel to the Olympics. He encouraged them and tell them, please do your best and do whatever you can do to raise the good flag of your country. Then during the games, he was talking to the people who are going through the stages, through the heats, to reach the final, like was encouraging and sending a big message to the handball.
Yes.
And see what is handball. They finalized among the four people, the best 4 Olympic teams of the world for the first time ever.
Yes.
And first time ever, not only for Egypt, but for Egypt, for the Arabs, and for the Africans as well. So this kind of encouragement is giving a really great support and push to the people. Besides, of course, the great honor that we are honored by our president.
Participation, yes.
Yeah. Well, for the others, after they come back, the president is giving a role model, not only with whatever he's doing of awards that he's giving to them, but also to the individuals and for the teams and for even the trainers and for the presidents of the federations who were attending today. To the president, to the Minister of Youth and Sport, Professor Dr. Ashraf Subhi, to Engineer Hisham Hatab, the president of the National Olympic Committee. When I saw that today, I was very proud. I was very proud because the president is not awarding only these champions. He's awarding all the sports people of the country. He's giving a role model that I am with all the people, with the youth who is encouraging and giving. All of them are youth. All of them are youth.
Yes.
All of them have a chance to participate in the next Olympic Games, except, unfortunately, the karate. And when we come to the karate, please let me say something very quickly. Karate was just in in Tokyo 2021 because Japan asked it for it. When you have the town asking for the bidding or winning the bidding, they have the right to choose some of the sports. So they choose the karate because the karate origin is Japanese. So, but unfortunately, it's not going to be in 2024 or 2028. But you never know. It might be, but not the 2024 because 2024 is already announced what the sport is going to be. Maybe 2028, you never know. But we don't have to give up because some of the sports were out, like golf before and came back, and softball. And you have seen in new sports, like a roller skate and all these type of things. So it's a great honor that we were all sports people awarded today with a great celebration that our youth could be able to raise the flag in a very, very amazing way that we are very proud of them.
Yes. Sir, now, being a person who's responsible for the young athletes being sent to the Olympics now, as you've mentioned, the Olympics is usually participated in by a lot of the youth. They're usually very young. And you've mentioned a few things that are quite important in preparing the athlete to participate in a competition to make them compete at the highest level, which is the psychological effect, which is, and a lot of people are now really focusing on sports science. How far are we in really applying all the possible methods and all the possible and best ways of preparations now, the highest standards to cope with the international competition?
Well, the matter of fact, let me tell you, Hani, before I go to this, to qualify to the games, it's a hell of a road. You have to start from the time is announced by the international federations. And then you have to follow up with whether you go through the continent of the qualification, so the continent championship, especially qualifying for the games, or you go through the ranking list. If you go through the ranking list, every federation, every sports federation has its own way of the qualification. But normally, that you have to compete in one of the more than one competition, international competition, to get or to gather a certain number of points to be able in the good ranking. And then they start to say, in every country or every continent, you have maximum 3 countries, for instance, like Africa in the triathlon, they should have only 3 countries. And South Africa take 2, Egypt take 1, and then Zimbabwe take 1. So only 3 countries.
Very
so
limited.
All the 54 countries are competing whether in this road to the Olympics. They have to be qualified through this road. But if you go to the other road, which is the continent road, so you have only also 2 countries. But you have the white card, as we say sometimes, for the new flags. New flags, it means that if you are in a continent and you never had, for instance, anybody in the Olympics and so on and so forth, and you have someone is really good and could be able to place in the ranking, they give them the white card. So this is by the International Federation. So it is very hard to go through. So it breaks my heart when you say they are qualified, but you cannot go unless you achieve one of the medals. So if you have 11,000 people participating in the games, and only 1,000 is going to take the medals, what is the other 10,000 will do?
Disappointed.
You see? But it has to be this spirit, because participation in the games is the name of the spirit of a sport.
Yes.
This is what the Parliament Periodic Britain was saying. Then we come to your question. You're asking, if I understand you right, you're asking of the participation of our youth to the games, right?
Yes. Preparing them psychologically, mentally, getting sports science into it.
Well, the matter of fact, I like very much what you said, because I want to give an example. Professor Dr. Ashraf Subhi, the Minister of Youth and Sport, is really planned since 2018, started already a project with 11 sports, with some talented people. They are already in this camp, started with the groups to try to be prepared for the big events like a Worlds and the Olympics. So if we're talking about how long it takes to make Olympic champion, 8 to 12 years. How much you can spend on them? Every 4 years, you have $5 million. So you have $15 million for the 12 years. I mean what I say.
Yes.
Economically, it's calculated like this. What about if you say that one of the players of the United States, she was playing, and all of a sudden she went to do some of the action and she said, sorry, I'm not in the mood, I cannot continue. How much they were spending on her? Over $5 million. Did they blame her? No, they said, cool down, no problem. You're young enough, maybe the other time. Let me give you another example. One of the best athletes of the athletics, she went to 3 Olympic Games. The first one, she won 3 gold and 2 silver. Second one, she won 2 gold and 1 silver. And then she got pregnant. 1 year, she delivered. And she was sponsored by one of the biggest sports companies. And they were paying her very much money, too much money. Then they told her, no, we're going to discount your sponsorship to be 60% or 50% because you're not going to win in the next Olympic Games. You know, she had an idea, so she wear a really big name in athletics. And she made her own shoe on her name at that time when she was pregnant. And then she started to deliver it, she started to manufacture it, she started to show it to the people. Then she participated in the 3rd Olympic Games, and guess what? She won 3 gold medals and 2 silver medals. And then she became one of the richest people because of her brand and her winning.
Yes.
You see, this is how determination is, and how is the people, and she was prepared definitely, we'll come to the preparation, she were re-prepared as she is a really champion, so they start to energize her with the great training, And of course, with using the science, definitely. If you're talking about the biomechanics, for instance, as we have seen Michael Phelps and what happened with Michael Phelps. And I always try to say a very good story about the swimming when you say in 1968, we have one of the swimmers wins 2 gold medals for the United States, 1968. And then the United States came out after he won, and they say, and there was the guy called Mark Spitz, okay? And they came out and they said, in 1972, United States will win by Mark Spitz 7 gold medals. That was not expectation. That was a study, was science. They changed the style of some of the swim. They already has been studied the biomechanics of how they can break the new world records and Olympic records. And the dream became true, and he really achieved 7 gold medals.
Yes.
So he is still the story. Even that Michael Phelps won 12 medals in the Olympics, but still Mark Spitz is the one, is really benchmark the swimming and the story of the sports. I mean, there's a lot of stories like this. What we learn from this? What we are doing now, I think Professor Dr. Ashraf is having a committee, science committee, is studying these people. What did they do to try to be winning the Olympic medals with this way? What kind of genes did they have? What kind of science did they do? Of course, we cannot have all the secrets.
Yes.
Because there is still some secrets you can't learn about. But you will do your best to try to elevate the standard, even that we have the best results for the Olympic Games, for these games as well.
Mr. Nasser, a lot of people obviously were following the Olympics, and a lot of talk on social media and observers and fans, sports fans around the world, and especially mainly in Egypt. They were talking about Egypt really winning such medals in the individual sports, or we're used to excelling in individual sports. In tennis, we're now at the international stage. Squash, all of these medals were in the individual sports. However, as you've mentioned, handball and football, we've tasted the medals, as you've mentioned. Now, is that because of a mentality, a discipline, a determination, as you've mentioned? Is it because it's easy to depend on an individual sort of sense of determination instead of a collective one of a whole team?
Well, I like what you said, but at the end of the day, if you're talking about the team also combined it of individuals.
Yes.
So the individuals, if you get them as a strength together, they will play as one, as a team.
Yes.
So I think that what we have seen with the handball is a very big example that we already have achieved a very good level of the team sports.
Yes.
Also, as the individuals, of course, there is some of the countries like this. If you say, you're talking about the athletics, you talk about the United States. Maybe you talk about Jamaica in 1 or 2 events.
Yes.
You talk about Kenya in 1 or 2 events. You talk about Ethiopia in 1 event. You talk about... So in each event, there is some specialization that we are talking about. And now we are trying, that's what we're trying to do now in Egypt, because we are thinking that we have some genes in some of these individual sports. But unfortunately, we missed the weightlifting.
Yes.
If we could have the weightlifting, we missed at least 2 medals. Or 3 medals or 4 medals, whatever, it depends on the numbers that we already have, the champions are. But no, I cannot say that we have only depending on the individuals, maybe until later. But for the time being, of course, no, we have both, as you have seen, and we are proud of that.
Sir, one final question because we're running out of time.
Okay.
How do you Or what's your opinion about the new sports being introduced in the Olympics? I mean, skateboarding is now one sport, also the introduction or the reintroduction of golf, because a lot of people are with the inclusion of these sports, and some people are saying, well, it's not really a sport if you're just skateboarding. What sort of an opinion do you have on this?
Well, the IOC, International Olympic Committee, has some goals. The goal is to attract youth, to make the youth understand that there is a spirit of the sport. There is encouragement for the sport. It's not only the hard ones and the solid ones and really rough ones and so on and so forth, but there is also some youth sports we have to look at. So that was the theme. The second thing is that there is a checklist if you want to be an Olympic sport.
Yes.
Number one, you have to be in the social media. It's not the number one, but one of them. The other one, you have to be in all the continents with a certain percentage, at least 3 continents. Number 3, you have to have a gender equity in that area. Number 4, there is a lot of checklists that you have to consider to be in the Olympics. But as I said, that the IOC would like to encourage the youth to be attracted to the games, not only for the big races, but some of the things that interest the youth, like what you currently see, the skateboard, of course, interests a lot of people all over the world. And some other sports you never heard of, but you can find them in the Olympics. And there is a very important point before I close with you. They used to say that the sport, the new sport, would be a tested sport in the Olympics, but it's not anymore. They put the sport, if they have the good target of audience and they do have the good attraction and the big audience for this, it will be remaining. But if it is not, it will be out, and it might try to be in the games another time.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, definitely the Egyptian champions have made the whole country proud. Egypt was not just making up the numbers at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, and hopefully so we will continue winning medals, and really just competing at the highest level makes the whole country proud. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this segment, but before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Mr. Ahmed Nasser, the president of the African Association of Sports Confederation and the renowned media personality. Mr. Nasser, it was a pleasure having you with us.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much, and thank you for Nile TV International.
Thank you very much, sir.